In 1955, a tool and die man named Earl, working second shift at the Dodge main plant in Hamtramck, Michigan, walked onto a used lot on Joseph Campow Avenue and bought a 3-year-old Plymouth Cranbrook for $645. He drove that car to work for 14 years, hauled 3 kids in it, and sold it in 1969, still running on the original engine block. Today, the cheapest new sedan at a Detroit dealership starts at $24,000 before tax. A base Toyota Camry, the modern equivalent of what Earl bought, runs $29,500 with the kind of plastic dashboard that warps in 2 summers. Earl's Plymouth had a steel dash you could hammer nails into. There was a guide printed in 1955, a thin paperback sold at Woolworths for 35 cents that told working men exactly which used cars would outlast the loan papers. Number 19 on our list was rated by the U.S. Army as the most rebuildable engine in North America. Number 11 logged over 400,000 miles in a Bureau of Labor Statistics fleet study before its first valve job. And number 4 was the car that Detroit executives quietly bought for their own sons while advertising something else entirely to yours. That guy disappeared. Not by accident. By 1958, the Big Three had restructured their dealer networks to push annual model changes, and the magazines that lived on Detroit ad money stopped printing long-term durability tests. Planned obsolescence wasn't a theory, it was a strategy memo. They didn't want you to know which cars lasted 30 years, because 30-year cars don't sell new ones. If you remember when a man could buy a car with cash and trust it, subscribe before we start. This list is what they buried. Number 25, the 1948 Chevrolet Fleetline Aero sedan. Drove by coal miners in Harlan County, Kentucky, men who came up from the shafts black-faced and needed a car that started in 30-degree mornings without complaint. The straight-six stove-bolt engine had been refined since 1929, and any shade tree mechanic could rebuild it with a wrench set from Sears. New, the Fleetline cost $1,371 in 1948. The average factory wage was $52 a week. That's 26 weeks of pay. A modern Silverado is 2 full years of median wages. You sit in the Fleetline on a wet October morning, the bench seat cold through your coveralls, the smell of Bakelite and gasoline, and yesterday's lunch pail in the back. The starter grinds twice and catches. Heater takes 10 minutes. You don't mind. Popular mechanics. In 1952, reported Fleetlines logging 180,000 miles on original bearings in Appalachian coal country. The 1955 BEL Air replaced it with chrome and tail fins and a V8 that drank more gas to do less work. Detroit decided beauty meant disposable. The Fleetline was the last Chevrolet built like a tool. Every one scrapped was a workshop closing. Number 24. The 1950 Hudson Pacemaker, a favorite of returning Pacific veterans in the suburbs north of Milwaukee, men who wanted something solid after 4 years of plywood barracks and rusted Jeeps. The Pacemaker sold new for $1,807, and on the used lot by 1953, you could find one for $700, 14 weeks of a tool grinder's pay. The step-down chassis put the floor below the frame rails, lowering the center of gravity so far that NASCAR drivers won 27 stock car races in Hudsons between 1951 and 1954. You climb in, the door shuts with a vault sound. The wheel warms under your palms as the inline-six idles, smell of mohair upholstery and engine heat coming through the firewall. Hudson merged with Nash in 1954, and the brand was dead by 1957. AMC executives chose to chase compact economy cars instead. The Pacemaker was safer than anything sold today at its weight class, and it was killed by a boardroom vote in Kenosha. The men who drove them are gone now, and so is the factory. Number 23, the 1953 Studebaker Champion. Iowa corn farmers swore by it, 40 miles per gallon on the highway, which the U.S. Census Bureau noted in a 1954 rural transportation report as the highest economy figure of any American sedan. New price, $1,767. A used 1949 Champion in 1953 ran about $495. You drive it down a gravel road outside Cedar Rapids, dust rolling behind, the Flathead 6 humming at 55, the AM radio catching a Des Moines station playing Hank Williams. Studebaker collapsed in 1966 because GM and Ford undercut their dealer pricing through volume rebates that South Bend couldn't match. It wasn't competition, it was strangulation. The Champion got 40 miles per gallon 70 years ago. Your new crossover gets 28 and weighs twice as much. Number 22, the 1951 Ford F1 half-ton. Texas oilfield workers in the Permian Basin bought them used for $400 in 1955. 5 weeks of roughneck wages. The Flathead V8 ran on whatever grade of gas the company pump put out. You started at 4 a.m. in Odessa, the desert cold cutting through canvas gloves, exhaust ghosting white in the headlights. The cab smells of crude oil and tobacco. Ford redesigned the F-Series in 1953 with more chrome and a softer ride, and by 1965, the truck became a status object instead of a tool. A new F-150 Platinum costs $78,000. Earl's grandson finances it for 84 months. The F1 was paid off in cash. The truck stopped being a truck somewhere around 1973, and nobody noticed until it was too late. Number 21st, the 1949 Plymouth Special Deluxe. Number 20, the 1947 Buick Roadmaster. Number 19, the 1952 Willys Aerowing with the Hurricane 4-cylinder, the U.S. Army rated in a 1953 Ordnance Report as the single most field-rebuildable engine in the North American inventory. A motor pool sergeant in Fort Riley, Kansas, could pull and replace a Hurricane head with 2 privates and a hand crank. The Aerowing sold for $1,731 new and was discontinued in 1955 when Kaiser Frazer collapsed. Detroit lobbying killed the independents. The little manufacturers couldn't afford the steel allocations the Big Three secured through wartime contracts. Number 18, the 1954 Mercury Monterey, $2,452 new, driven by union foremen in Flint who wanted Lincoln quality at Ford prices. Stop here. There was a man in Ohio, a retired Pennsylvania railroad machinist outside Lima, who in 1978 bought a 1950 Dodge Coronet for $200 from a widow. He drove that car until 2003. 25 years. When it finally needed a head gasket, he pulled the engine in his own garage with the chain hoist his father had welded in 1947. He told a Toledo newspaper reporter that the car had taught him patience and that modern cars taught men only debt. That interview ran in the Lima News in 2004. He died in 2011. The Coronet was scrapped by his son 3 weeks later. This is not nostalgia. This is what was traded away. Engineers at MIT in 2019 published a paper on long-life vehicle design and concluded that pre-1965 American sedans had lower life-cycle carbon footprints than modern hybrids because they lasted 4 times longer. The old mechanics in Lima knew that in 1952. They just called it building things right. Number 17, the 1953 Pontiac Chieftain. Number 16, the 1950 Nash Statesman. Number 15, the 1948 Packard 8, the last car the U.S. State Department bought in fleet quantity before switching to Cadillacs for political reasons. Number 14, the 1955 Dodge Coronet. Number 13, the 1951 Kaiser Henry J. Number 12, the 1949 Oldsmobile 88, the original Rocket 5.8. Number 11, the 1950 Chevrolet 3100 pickup. A fleet operated by the Bureau of Labor Statistics out of a Pittsburgh research office logged 11 of these trucks past 400,000 miles each before the program ended in 1971. 400,000 miles on bias ply tires and 90 weight gear oil, sold new for $1,329. A West Virginia carpenter could buy a 2-year-old 3100 for $600 in 1952. Today's Silverado work truck starts at $38,000 and the transmission fails at $140,000. Number 10, the 1952 Lincoln Capri. Number 9, the 1948 Cadillac Series 62. Number 8, the 1954 Buick Special. Number 7, the 1950 Pontiac Streamliner, driven by black auto workers in Detroit's North End who couldn't get loans for new cars and bought used Streamliners for $550. The straight 8 ran 250,000 miles on regular maintenance. Number 6, the 1953 DeSoto Firedome. Number 5, the 1949 Mercury 8, the car James Dean drove, except your grandfather drove one too and nobody made a movie about him. Number 4, the 1955 Chevrolet 210, the car Detroit executives bought for their own sons. Number 3, the 1948 Dodge Power Wagon, used by the Forest Service until 1978, the longest service life of any civilian-derived vehicle in federal inventory. Number 2, the 1953 Ford Custom Line, the car a Korean War veteran in Bakersfield bought for $700 in 1956 and drove until his funeral in 1989. Number 1, the 1955 Chevrolet 150 utility sedan, the car your father or grandfather actually owned, stripped interior, rubber floor, no radio, $1,593 new. The car that built the suburbs, hauled the groceries, took the family to church, and sat in the driveway for 20 years without complaint. Toyota copied its frame geometry in 1968. The 150 was discontinued in 1957 because dealers couldn't make money on a car that didn't break. I bought a 1955 150 in 2009 for $2,200 at an estate sale in Missouri. It started on the second crank. I drove it home 400 miles, find one this weekend, walk a salvage yard, check a county auction, call the old man down the road who still has one under a tarp, call someone who remembers driving one of these, your father, your uncle, the neighbor who fixed his own brakes, and ask him what it cost and how long it lasted. Tell me in the comments what your father drove and what happened to it. These cars were not transportation. They were the last machines built by Americans who believed a working man deserved something that would not betray him.